Today, I want to go through and share a couple quotes with you that have really impacted me, some quotes that I really like. The first one that I want to say and share with you is God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. My friend Ryan Ennis told me this quote. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. I absolutely love this. My friend Ryan told me this quote in a time when I was second guessing myself, and he didn't know that. But for some reason, he shared that quote with me. And I was second guessing myself about changing business models, about restarting, rebranding. And he goes, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. See, what he was saying and how I interpret this quote is you don't need to have all the qualifications. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to do it. You don't need to have all the degrees and the things that you think you need to go do the thing that you want. He'll qualify you when you feel that you're called to do something. I felt called to get into life coaching. I couldn't ignore it. It was something I was thinking about every day. I could not stop thinking about it. But I could have said, I don't have the qualifications. I don't have the degree. I don't have the experience. I've never done this before. How can I do it? But I felt called to do it. And that's the only thing that I needed. I didn't need to know the how. I just needed to know what I wanted to do. And that is a big change for me because I used to not be able to do that. That is something that I've worked on over the years. I remember when I first started my health and fitness coaching business, I didn't feel qualified. I was second guessing myself. I hired a coach, and luckily that coach pushed me forward a lot when it came to my business because I felt that I wasn't qualified. I thought I needed all these degrees. And he goes, you're in amazing shape. How long have you been working out for? It's like I've been working out for 16 years and I had a physique that most people ask me how I got it. I was qualified. And even if you're not qualified, if you're still feeling called to do something, you'll get qualified. God will qualify you. He will give you what you need. But the only way you can get what you need is by experience, by actually chasing it. See, most people, they'll have an idea, but they won't act on it because they don't think they're qualified. They don't think they have enough experience. They don't think that they have everything that they need to get started. But the biggest misconception is that you need to know the how. That you need to know how everything's going to work. But what I realized was whenever I think I do have a how and I think I do know how it's going to work out, it never ends up going exactly how I thought. It actually goes way different than what I thought, what I planned, how I thought it was going to work out. When I started developing these workout plans for my clients, when I started my health and fitness coaching business, I was doing all these workouts and my coach goes, just get started with the first client. You don't know what you're going to need to do now. You don't know how it's going to work out. Build that workout, that program out for that first client, and then you can take that program and apply it to the next person. Instead of coming up with all the things that I thought I needed to get started, which was a year's worth of workout programs, which was experience, which was a certification, which was somebody to tell me that I was good enough to do this. I didn't need all that. All I needed to know was I felt called to do it. I had the idea. I wanted to do it. And I'm sure there's probably something in your life that you want to go do. Everybody has something that they want to do. Are you acting on it? Are you chasing it? From experience, most people I've talked to, they have ideas, they have goals, they have ambitions, but they don't act on it because they don't think that they're qualified to do it. But this quote hits so good because it's God doesn't call the qualified. He's not looking for the person that has all the awards, all the accolades, all the experience. He's going to qualify you as you go. And the only way to get qualified is to get started. If you're riddled with anxiety, you're riddled with stress, you're not happy, it's probably because you're not making decisions. As soon as you start making decisions, you'll start to feel better. Soon as you start taking action, you're going to feel better. The worst decision is to not make a decision, to just sit on your hands. Because whether the decision goes the way you want it to or it doesn't, whether it works out exactly how you're anticipating or it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you're taking action forward. And then you'll start to get qualified from your experience. Your experience is going to teach you what you need to know. So even if you do fail, you're going to learn. Even if it doesn't work out how you anticipated, you're going to learn. And that is the qualification that you are looking for, that you are seeking for. But most people want to have all these qualifications without even making the initial decision. As soon as you make that decision, you just took one more step to start qualifying yourself to be the person that you want to be, to do the thing that you want to do. Each day that I go forward and I try to sign another client and I start working with somebody else, I'm learning. And some days I mess up. Some days it doesn't go how I want it to. Some days I don't handle the situation the way I should have, but I learn from it. And when I learn from it, I become more qualified. And the more qualified I get, the more confident I get. But if you have the idea that you need to be qualified, you have to have all the things done, you have to have the resume, you have to have everything in order, you need to know exactly how it's going to work out and what the plan is, you're never going to get started. And God's not looking for that. He's not looking for perfect. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for somebody that's willing to get going, that's willing to act on their dreams, that's willing to act on their ambitions. I had moments in this transformation when I went from fitness coaching to life coaching, and I started doubting myself. I started thinking, man, this isn't going how I thought it was. This is tough. Maybe I should go back to fitness coaching. I did that for a year and I kind of got it. I kind of got some momentum. Why are you changing it all up now, Kevin? And I would ask myself these questions. But then I would remind myself that's acting out of fear, not faith. And I knew that I know I had the skill set, and I knew I'd get qualified as I continued to go forward. So that quote, God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Remember that next time you have an idea. The only way you're going to get qualified is by taking action, by going for it. The fact that you have the idea, the fact that you want to go do this thing is the only thing that you need to know. That's the only thing that you need to get started. God doesn't just give you these ideas for no reason. They're meant to be acted on. These ideas that come to you, these downloads that come to you, they only come to you. They're for you to act on. And if you're waiting to be qualified, you're waiting for the experience, you're waiting for all these things that you think you need, the degrees, the prestige. If you're waiting for all of that, you're never going to get started. Just go get rolling with whatever that thing is that you're meant to do. The next quote that I want to share with you is by Erwin McManus. Some of you are in a long-term rut to fill a short-term need. Whew. Some of you are in a long-term rut to fill a short-term need. Have you ever been in a rut before? And it just felt like you're in a rut forever? Do you ever stop and ask yourself, why am I in this rut? What am I doing? A lot of times when you end up in a rut, it's to fill that short-term need. And that need is normally to fill that feeling. Whether it's that feeling of insecurity, the feeling of not being enough, the feeling of fear. And what do? You use distractions, you use coping mechanisms, and you continue to use these same coping mechanisms, these same distractions over and over and over again. And when you do that, you start to get into these patterns, and these patterns become habits. And then it becomes your way of operating without even thinking. So when you're in a rut, what is that need that you're trying to fill? When you're going out and drinking all the time, or you're scrolling social media all the time, or you're overeating all the time, You're trying to fill this short-term need of not feeling insecure. You're trying to fill this short-term need of feeling like you're not enough by overeating, by watching porn, by drinking. Those are just coping mechanisms to deal with that short-term need. And what that happens is when you start to do that, you start to use these coping mechanisms to fill this short-term need, you end up in a long-term rut. And then it becomes part of your identity. Then you start to label yourself. I'm a drinker. I'm not a morning person. And when you put these labels on yourself, it becomes who you are, and you're reinforcing that over and over again. And this is how we end up in a long-term rut. It's to fill that short-term need. So you have to take the time to step back and look, what is this little short-term need that I'm trying to fill? What is this little short-term need that I'm using all these coping mechanisms, all these habits, all these things that I started to develop to feel a certain way? Because everything we do, we're really searching for a feeling, right? We don't do stuff for no reason. You don't drink for no reason. There's a need there. You're trying to fill something. There's a purpose. It's normally to make you feel good. Maybe it's to help you socialize. Scrolling on social media. You're not just doing it to do it. It's filling a need for you. It might be filling up that pain of feeling insecure, not liking the way that you look in your clothes, not liking your job, taking your mind off of that, because those thoughts keep coming up. And instead of facing those thoughts, we just reach for the phone. We just go out and drink that night because it takes our mind off of those thoughts, those feelings. But then we end up in a long-term rut because they become part of our routine. They can become part of our habits. And when you end up in that long-term rut, it cycles back to reinforcing that feeling of not being enough, being insecure. So actually, if we want to go forward, if we want to get out of that rut, we have to stop worrying about those short-term needs and be okay being uncomfortable. Be okay feeling that feeling. Be okay thinking those thoughts. And the best way to do this is with my 3-day dopamine detox. That detox, it makes you aware of what your feelings are, what your thoughts are. I do this with every client. We go through a dopamine detox. It's required. It's the first thing that I do. Because if you have all of these things in your life, all of these distractions, the social media, the drinking, the porn, the hanging out with friends, the overeating, all of these things, right? They're in your life to distract you from your feelings and your thoughts. So by taking away the dopamine, by stepping away, by giving yourself space, you can actually sit there and allow these thoughts to come in. You can write them down in a journal. You can feel the feelings, the tightness in your chest, the aching in your stomach, the burning in your temples. We all hold pain in different areas. But most of us don't want to feel that pain. So we end up using these short-term fixes to fill that need. And that ends up putting us in a long-term rut. So I love this quote. Some of you are in a long-term rut to fill a short-term need. So identify what are those things that you're doing on a consistent basis to fill those short-term needs. What are those short-term needs? Look at them, identify them, write them down in a journal. Then the last quote I want to talk about is by Naval. Desire is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. Desire is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. I love that quote. We say we have desire, we want this, we want that perfect relationship, right? And I'm going to be unhappy until I get it. That's the contract that you've made with yourself. I'm not going to be happy until I get what I want. I'm not going to be happy until I have that perfect relationship. I'm not going to be happy until I'm making $500,000 a year. I'm not going to be happy until I get a new job. I'm not going to be happy till my team wins a Super Bowl. We have these desires, we have these things that we want, and he says it's a contract that you're making with yourself to be unhappy until you get the things that you want. How true is that? Instead, if we could just learn to love the process, learn to love the showing up. That's why when I set my goals, it's not about getting the $1 million. It's not about getting the six pack. It's not about getting married, right? My goals are based on what I can do each day to push me closer to that and enjoying the process of it. Because if you're always just searching for that last perfection, that thing that you think you want, the only reason that you want that, the only reason that you have that desire is because you think it's going to make you feel a certain way. So instead of creating this contract that says, I need that, I want that, start to enjoy the process and start to look at what you can do each day that's going to fulfill you. What are you going to do each day that's going to make you feel good? I love Wayne Dyer's quote, your purpose is not as much about what you do as it is about how you feel. I think we all have these expectations that if I become a doctor, then my life's going to be good. If I start this business, then my life's going to be good. If I get in that relationship, then my life's going to be good. And it's not about what you do. It's about how you feel. I love that quote. It might be my favorite quote. That your purpose is not about what you do. It's about how you feel when you're doing it. I know when I get on stage and talk, I feel a certain way. I know when I work with my client, I feel a certain way. I know when I talk about this stuff, I feel a certain way. And I know that's my purpose because I feel it, right? It's not about the money. It's not about how I do it. It's about how I feel when I do it. And I know that is my purpose because I have this feeling of gratitude, of peace, of knowing that I'm doing the right thing, that I found my thing. So don't worry about, get caught up about what your purpose is. It's not about what you do. It's about how you feel when you do it. There's some things in your life, I'm sure, that you just feel amazing when you do it. There's some things in your life that just feed you. I know when I play beach volleyball, there's a feeling of love there that I just absolutely love. I just love doing it every day, if I can. When I talk to a client, I just feel so good. It's not about the money. It's not about how I look doing this job. It's about how I feel when I do that job. And if you can look at that in your life and be like, what is the thing that makes me feel good? What is the thing that lights me up? And just going back to the first quote, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. You don't need to know the how. You just got to know how it makes you feel. And if you feel good when you do it, that is your purpose. It might be just volunteering somewhere. It might not be your job. I think so many people get caught up in my purpose has to be tied to my job. Your purpose doesn't have to be tied to your job. Your purpose can be the guy that gets all the friends together for their dinner parties each week to bring the community together. That could be your purpose. The one that brings everybody together each week for that dinner at the house. Or the person that goes to church and is the leader of their church group. That could be your purpose. You don't have to get paid to do it. But it makes you feel good when you lead that group. It makes you feel good when you cook dinner for your friends. And when you do stuff, this is the number one hack. When you do stuff, don't expect anything in return. You're doing it because it makes you feel good. You're leading that group because it makes you feel good. You're giving that speech because it makes you feel good. Not how the people are going to tell you that you did or how the people are going to respond. You're going to give that compliment to that person because it makes you feel good, not because you want a certain result from that, not because you want them to react a certain way. And that right there, just doing things because of how it makes you feel, that is the purpose in your life. You should be able to feel it. And if you start to follow those feelings, that intuition, those downloads, and you continue to follow those without having to have all the experience, your life is going to change. So these quotes here today that I shared with you are just some of the quotes that I love, that have impacted me. And whenever I hear a good quote, I write it down. And I just wanted to share them with you. And I think if you can take some of these and just start listening to quotes and start writing down things when you hear them that resonate with you. But what I would tell you from this podcast, the message that I want you to take from this is follow what feels right. Follow what you want to do. You don't need to know the how. Once you discover what you want, just go for it. And don't have an expectation on how it needs to look, because that's your desire that Naval talks about. Then you have that desire that I need this, and you're creating that contract of unhappiness until you get it. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to know. You just need to know what you want, right? And start taking actions and doing things that make you feel good on the way to getting there. Take out those distractions and you'll become way more creative. And I just want to end with this, as I always do. Remember, greatness is already inside you. Now let's just bring it out. There's greatness in there. There's so much greatness inside of you. Now let's just bring it out. Let's bring it out. And the only way to do that is by taking action towards what you want, without knowing the how, but taking action in that direction of the things that make you feel good. Please share this with a friend if you got some value from this. If you think this message can help somebody. Love you guys. And greatness is already inside of you. Now let's just bring it out.